Oh, I think we're live.
We're live?
I think so. Oh my God.
We have
crazy.
is there
Wait,
anyone here?
No, well,
Okay.
like, I mean, I don't,
We're just
it's
technically-
there's definitely people here because right now it's just only connected to my Twitter for the audience thing. So 1 second. I think we are. So
Check.
check. Oh my God, I'm so sorry. Like, I use this microphone toys. So hopefully this will just work. Okay. Why is this not working? Wait, is this supposed to? I'm so sorry. Technical difficulty. I just pretend it's working.
Stop apologizing.
No, I think
No more
it is working.
apologies.
Yeah. Okay. So
Like, this is your podcast. I'm just here to
oh my
help.
God. Okay, I'm so excited. Okay, sorry for the technical difficulties, but well, Evan, welcome to Venture with Grace.
Sure thing. Yeah. What's up?
Okay, to start the show, I would love for the audience to get to know you a little bit more.
That
So
sounds good.
before working at HF0, you were a founder yourself.
That's right.
For Teespring.
Mhm.
So you sold over $1 billion worth of t-shirts.
That's true.
You raised from like Residency, COSA, among other top VC firms.
Yeah.
Why don't we talk about what were some core early lessons that you've learned in your career that kind of shaped you into who you are today?
Do you want me to talk to you or do you want me to talk to them?
Okay, that's a great question. I think let's talk to both.
You want me to talk to both? Okay.
Yes.
So, okay.
Okay, no, make it more.
You're good. Get a little closer. There we go. So, okay. What did I learn early in my career? I think one thing I learned with Teespring was you just, first of all, like if you have some early sign of PMF that like works, it's like worth following that and checking on it. Like pretty much when we started Teespring, we did this one t-shirt where it was like a prototype of that, and that crowdfunding t-shirt model for this one-off campaign went really well. And so there was like a seed of like, okay, there could be something here. Like there seems to be some sort of like, it's not like real PMF. It's like that one shirt had PMF, but it was a sign of like something that was there. And then we kept following that, and it honestly took us like about like 2 years of just like grinding before we started to actually then hit like the broader PMF. People actually wanted to create their own versions of this, and that I also don't think would have happened if we had done it at a different time. So there was like a timing aspect as well to what we were doing that was really important.
Totally. Yeah. Okay, so I wonder. So basically, you're saying like a small PMF before like a bigger milestone. So I like that. So I think you also said similar things for when you're screening for HF0, that like you screen for people who have some sort of like accomplishment, like following, or like they have done, like they have prior success. So why don't we talk about like, I guess, like what is HF0 for the audience who may not be that familiar with? And then obviously you guys have done a lot. Like I feel like watching the growth of you and Dave, like since I don't know, low-key like 10 years ago from Silicon Valley, is pretty insane. So I would think this is like kind of your second act. Yeah. Why don't we talk about, I guess, like what does that journey look like for you to like arrive at HF0 first of all as a founder, and then now as like a co-creator / founder, general founder here.
Yeah, I guess I would just speak a little bit to my overall journey. So I started at once I graduated, I started Teespring right away, and then I was there for about 8 years. I guess I was there. Walker and I really Teespring was 7 years, but Walker and I started working together in 2010, and I left the company in 2018. Now it's really cool because Walker is actually working at HF0 now. So now like we've come full circle. We're like working together again, which is super cool because he's just like a really talented person. So I'm really grateful to have like collaborated with him and I still have him as a part of this. But yeah, grew the company really fast. You know, at the peak we were doing $1 million a day. We then ended up having problems basically where we kind of, our main distribution channel was Facebook, and then they started making it harder for us to distribute through Facebook. So then we went from 250 million a year to like, I don't know, like 100 million a year. And that was like bad for the business. So, so I went through a whole journey of like laying a lot of people off and basically like trying to kind of go cockroach mode with Teespring to keep it alive. And it was quite a struggle. But the company did end up surviving. So I would say it's like a win that the company survived, but like definitely not the venture outcome or like the successful outcome in terms of like the exit. That it did, the company has been now sold, but it wasn't like a big exit or anything. But still, you know, Teespring, which is now Spring, exists. So that's cool. And then as for HF0, when I was thinking about starting my next company, I was talking to Dave, and he was like, "Dude, what if we like set you up in a house and just took care of everything in your life and put you with a bunch of other really talented people, and you just like went heads down for 3 months and tried to like build your life's work?" And I was like, "That sounds fucking awesome! Like, sign me up." So, so I joined HF0 as a founder. Went to New York. That was where it was at the time, the first HF0. This was in 2020, pre-COVID. And we started doing HF0, and then COVID hit and it shut down my batch. But I had an incredible experience. Like, I loved being in HF0. I loved the being in a community of other founders and really talented people, just like everyone devoted to like, let's build really cool stuff for this time. And honestly, just so nice having like the details of life figured out, like workouts, food.
Workout.
Yeah.
Workouts, foods, very important.
Basically just food, working out, and then work. And it's like, if you don't have to think about that stuff, it does. And it's also the community aspect, right? Because like normally in life, you like think about where am I going to eat? Am I going to cook? Who's going to clean my room? Am I gonna, you know, who am I gonna hang out with also is the question. What am I doing this weekend? And so like being in HF0 just like takes away that. It's just like, okay, well, these are gonna be the people I'm gonna be hanging out with. This is what I'm gonna be doing. This is what I'm gonna be eating. I don't have to think about any of that. It's cool. And it like actually unlocks a certain level of creativity that I think normal life doesn't allow for. And so we talk a lot about this idea of a monastery for hackers and building a space similar. You know, not everyone's experienced like a meditation retreat or living in a monastery, but it's really cool because in that environment, everything's like dialed in. It's like a program, and you're just kind of, you're in a space where you get to focus completely. Like when you're in your meditation, you just know there's nothing else that you need to be doing. You know that the next meal is coming. When the next meal is coming, you can just completely focus on meditation. And yeah, and I think that's quite cool. So I'm running batches here at HF0. It's been awesome.
Yeah, totally. I love that. I feel like it's very hard to I think it really depends on like which type of people you are. For like the serious builders, obviously like to think about anything else could be like a distraction. And for I guess like for you guys to pick people here, obviously it's like focusing on like the second act of a founder.
Yeah, repeat founders.
Repeat founders. Each batch is like 8 or 10 companies, something like that. So I wonder, so like you guys just finished like the most recent batch, and then obviously, you know, saw the Instagram story. It looks
we literally just had demo day yesterday. So this is like, this batch just wrapped up. It was a really exciting batch.
So maybe we could start with like the most recent batch, or like, you know, how do you guys select the people in the batch, and like what are some interesting innovations? If it's allowed to talk about.
Yeah, I mean, okay, so how do we select people in the batch? Look, at HF0, we think about what's the most impressive thing you've done in the past, how much traction do you have, and how ambitious are you? How ambitious are you? Basically, that's measured in the terms of what is your goal for by demo day? Like, what are you saying you will be able to achieve, and then how much do we believe that you'll actually get that? So like there could be someone who comes in here, has never started a company before, you know, has never done anything impressive and has no traction, but they tell us like, we're definitely going to hit 100 million annualized by demo day. And like, if we believe them that that's true, like we'll back them, but we have to believe it, right? Usually the way that you believe someone when they say that is because they've done something impressive in the past, so you think they can do it again. But sometimes it's just because you meet someone and they say they're going to do something, and you just, for whatever reason, you just think, I think this motherfucker might actually be able to do this. So like, that's the type of thing that we look at. And we talk to a lot of teams. Usually it's like if there's a research background or technical background that makes you especially well suited to solve the problem that you're going after, that's also something that can get you in. It's hard to get into HF0 because like we just only take 10 teams. So that means that we have like thousands of teams applying. It's a very selective process.
So like for them to, I guess like one is like ambition and like I guess like is this like a major vibe check through like the interviews or like I guess like do they obviously you mentioned about it and a different podcast on like they have to do like the short version like the short bio like they have grew something have like I don't know 5 million user or a certain type of like setup, but like I guess like what is like the criteria and benchmark that you guys actually filter people in, or there's no filter, just like a major vibe check based on the
Well,
pitch?
it depends. I mean, like these days, HF0, we keep scaling in the sense we keep backing teams that are farther and farther along. It used to be that if you had 100,000 ARR, you were like definitely like a contender for HF0. But nowadays, it's like if you have a million ARR or like 2 or 3 million annualized, that's like a strong contender for HF0, even if you didn't have like a crazy background before. If you started $1 billion company before, then you're probably like in the running. But it could just be that you just are like really cracked technically and you like have some idea that's super different. And I generally am like looking for founders who want to do something that is really pushing the boundaries of what people would even imagine is possible. That's a huge thesis for me. It's like just like what's even like if you saw our most recent demo day videos like Conduit, they're doing mind reading. We have a company in this batch doing like life extension longevity. Like these are the kind of problems where it's just we live in the time where it's now possible to solve things that previously would have been totally intractable. So like I'm really looking for founders who are being ambitious. Yes, if you have like a solid B2B SaaS idea, like we'll still think about that too. But also like what's going to really change the world? What's going to like unlock something new that people didn't even think could be done? Like that's what I'm more interested in. It's like moonshots because I think moonshots are going to become more and more often just going to happen. Like we're basically like seeing an acceleration of the things that seemed like they were totally crazy now start to seem a little bit more sane. And the things that seemed impossible now just starts to seem crazy. So that's kind of how I think about it.
Besides like I guess like the solving the longevity issues and the other company that you just mentioned, like since like I feel like SF is such a SaaS city, so like everyone's building some sort of AI agent. How do you think about AI? And then you mentioned about like the moonshot ideas. How like since like I feel like if there's a lot of VCs are focused on deep tech these days to build different kind of like rockets or like mining different metals and stuff like that. So like or like quantum computing, like what are a piece of technology that or like a sector of technology that you feel like is currently being utilized the most for the future like decacorn startups?
I mean, it's hard to like, it's going to be a bunch of stuff, but I think that I think the sweet spot honestly is really ambitious software projects. And by that, I also am including training models and ML type problems, especially if there's like a data set that people haven't leveraged before. If there's a new model that you can develop on top of that data that like hasn't quite existed before, and then you also have an idea about how to put that into production and apply it. Those are the types of problems that like weren't really being solved easily in the past, and now, like now it could just be a matter of you go out, you collect this novel data set, or you find a way to access it, and then you suddenly have this like new capability that didn't previously exist. Hardware is still hard. I'm not saying like it's impossible. I still think I think it's interesting, and I'm interested in hardware companies, deep tech, like all across the board. Biotech, I think it's super interesting to see some of the innovations there. But it's really especially like things that could be accelerated with AI, which I think is kind of everything. But especially it's like if you have software that is kind of taking the next step. I think agentic SaaS is fine. I actually like, it's cool. I've like long believed since I started hacking with like GPT in like 2022, you know, I have had a thesis around agents and how that would unlock a new wave of software. But there's a lot of focus on that. So there's not that much alpha in there anymore. I think you just need to start to look at stuff that's a little bit more out there. Yeah.
Since you, I was like listening to your podcast with AI.
Mhm.
What's your actual thoughts about like being answering these like AI podcast questions? Like, what is like, I guess, no. What is your, I guess, like feedback or like any like interesting findings while experiencing like an hour-long podcast conversation with an AI character?
Like I was, so the thing is, when I did that podcast, that was like the AI thing. I experienced it as I was being just interviewed by a human.
Yeah,
but
thought
then later
like
it got converted into an AI.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Oh, okay. So it was not an actual AI podcast.
It's post-production AI.
Oh,
so
okay,
during the podcast, it's not.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I
and
was
that
like-
AI character is just a person talking, and then it's basically that's like very much more like a VTubing kind of situation.
Got it.
And like a voice swapping, voice modulation, but it all happened post-production. So yeah, so for me, my experience of it was just talking to a person, but then later it became that, which is really cool that that's possible now, because I think the entertainment value is like way more if you have like this like AI character, I guess, than just like a normal human. No
For
offense,
sure.
but yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, like I don't know. I think like I actually still think there's so much more that's gonna come in the world of AI companions, AI personas, AI like basically AIs that simulate what it's like interacting with a human. I don't even think we're close on that. Character AI, whatever, like it still to me is the most exciting use case for LLMs, honestly, is this. It's like it's just simulating human beings and all of those different interactions that we can now have. But I think that it's been interesting to see there's this kind of like initial wave of excitement for that. And then now there's sort of more of a shift of, I think, a lot more focus is on like the kind of like software 2.0 agentic SaaS applications. But like there's a whole nother wave of persona based AI experiences that are about to hit that are going to be like completely crazy and world changing.
Can you give us an example of the persona hit?
Y'all, I saw this demo the other day. My friend Kevin has this company. It's called Illusions of Life. He built this dog. It's like an AI dog that talks and is on a screen, and it's like actually crazy. Like if you can imagine, most people still haven't had the experience of being in a room where there's an AI character in the room with you that's an active member of the conversation. I'm not talking about VTubing. I'm talking about like autonomous AI that's actually like alive, that you actually pay attention to, that contributes to conversations, that makes jokes, that like that convinces the people in the room to do different things. Like if you can imagine this, like the idea of, let's like set aside the idea of like an AI therapist. What would it be like to have an AI couples counselor where you're there with your partner and that the AI is actually like actively getting you to relate to each other in certain ways? This dog experience was insane. I've never felt so emotionally moved by like any character before.
AI dog.
I mean, no, it was like this dog was so annoying. I ended up paying it to just like leave the room, if you can imagine that. But it was like annoying in such a way where like you actually demanded your attention and demanded that you respect it as a being that's there. And I think that's the next step that just most people still haven't experienced. What we're experiencing right now is if you're on ChatGPT or you're on Character AI, there's this cool experience of being able to chat with a chatbot that's like very intelligent beyond like anything we previously had. That's super sick. But that's still just this like call and response, chatbot in a box, whatever. It's not coming out into your life. It's not like this like present character in your world in the way that a human that walks into the room. When a human walks into the room, it changes the room. It's like, oh, now this person's here. Okay, hey, what's up? Do you want to join the conversation? Like, how have you been? Right? That's the kind of feeling of the next wave of AI. It's going to be like having a person walk into the room that is a part of the room. I don't know how to explain it. And so I just saw a demo of that, and you know, just thinking about what's possible. I mean, even in the next couple of years, even the next couple of months, who knows? By like the end of this year, we might have something like that that's just in everyone's life. I think that people are going to have much more real relationships with AI than we're even really letting our. And when I say this, like I think generally there's just less attention being paid to that dimension of things, but it's gonna for sure. It's gonna be huge. Yeah.
Totally. I feel like especially in SF, I think a lot of people are paying attention to how to use AI to improve like humans' productivity, but it's not like AI being your therapist, but it's more towards like, oh, it helps you schedule like a therapist or like help you kind of like be more engaging at certain programs or something like that, instead of like the AI itself does XYZ.
Yeah.
So speaking of like, I guess AI,
Mhm.
like maybe we could talk about like first of all, like I wonder how does like HF0 use AI, and like the other part is like how are you guys differentiate yourself from like other programs that's trying to attract the second-time founders? Because obviously I feel like based on your network or like Dave's network, you guys have like a really deep technical bench based off like the previous like hackathon situation or like just being an asset in the right time and like build up the cohort. But to I guess like to compete with other second time founder related funds, I guess like how do you guys think of like the differentiation and then also build a program that where people could maximize their growth during the sessions?
Sure.
Not sessions, but I guess the cohort basically.
Yeah, I mean, that's just like honestly like we 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 don't really see any other program that does what we do. There's programs out there that do stuff. We are all in on this shit. Like my apartment is next door. Every morning I wake up, I come over here, I work out with the founders, ate breakfast with the founders. I work all day in the same room as them, help them on whatever they need help with, you know, then like eat dinner with them and then stay here. Like that's a level of depth that most investors just aren't going to do. And so I think that there, first of all, is just a difference between us and a lot of other VCs because like most other VCs are down to give people money, are down to like maybe give some advice. Maybe there's some content that they can deliver. But are they going to be like living with you for 3 months? Like that's just a different level. And so I really think about everything that goes into this experience, like the retreat that we do at the beginning, the kinds of like mental attitudes that people are going to espouse that are going to help them break through. I think that so much of startups is so much about mental resistance that we each face as human beings. Like in general, right? As creatives, there's always this like, if you've ever read like, you know, the War of Art or the Artist's Way or any of these books, it's like it's basically just like we kind of hold ourselves back from having the breakthroughs to being able to go to the next level with our own work. Usually whatever the thing is that's going to move us forward the most, that's the thing that we have the most resistance to doing because because realistically, like we're scared of failing. And when you try to do the thing that's actually at the edge, it's actually going to push you forward. Like that's also where the most risk of failure is. And usually like, even if you're a top tier founder, you are on your own environment, you're still constantly battling this fight, and you're needing to find ways to overcome this resistance that you have to actually genuinely moving the business forward. A lot of times that means you got to go sell, you know, you have to go call people, you have to actually go like DM your friends and ask them to like sign up for a 10-minute Zoom so that you can like get everyone in their phone book who's like a possible client and stuff like that. And like I think a lot of founders like hide behind the thing they're good at, which is oftentimes like building product or this or that. And it's like people get a lot of that work done here, but a lot of times that there's something else that you need to do to actually like move your business forward. So I just think like we work with founders at a deep level. It's like a personal growth transformation level. I mean, this is why I also think like the exercises, the cold plunges, the like, you know, I mean, I like literally like wrestle the founders. Like that we have jujitsu classes, and like I was just teaching the founders taekwondo earlier today. I think that like if you can like throw a good punch, it's powerful. Like, you know, it's like about becoming a powerful person who's actually able to like confront the fear and just break through into actually like doing things that are hard. So yeah, there's a lot that goes into this, but I think it's ultimately it's a 3-month long program where you live here. We take care of everything in your life. And then the things that we are encouraging you to do with that space are like growth oriented, progress oriented, facing your fears, breaking through to the next level so that there's transformation in the company and there's transformation in the individual. And if we don't see that happening, we're going to light a fire under your ass till that happens too.
Can you elaborate on like how do you kind of like motivate if someone is I'm sure like people will to an extent to participate in like all the programmings, but I guess like is there like a schedule that's like everybody has to participate at all like at the same time, or is this more towards like, oh, like we have a selected what we have like here's are like 10 offerings and then I can pick I go to the retreat, but like I don't take this class or
so yeah, we don't really have so the way that we do it, in HF0, there's only like there's really only one thing every week that's like actually a requirement, which is on Monday night, there's a demo night. You come, you do a demo of your progress in front of the whole group, and you have dinner together. That's the only thing that you like have to come to. Other than that, we also have a check-in with a partner, which is kind of like those two things are like kind of like the YC model, except that YC you don't demo in front of everyone. So I think that's like actually a big miss, because like when you demo in front of everyone, that's the thing that sets the cadence. Like, you know that at the end of the week, or I guess Monday, you're going to be like up in front of the whole group showing your progress. And so it creates a lot of pressure that you need to make progress or else you're not going to have anything to show for it. And so that's a lot of what we think about. Then in addition to that, we offer personal trainers, 3 or 4 workout classes per day, meals, more workshops if you want to, that are really oriented around like things that we really think a lot about winning people time. So it's like our workshops, for example, are 12 minutes long, but then they're designed to win you back more than 12 minutes, like hopefully way more than 12 minutes, to save you time in the future. So it's all trading. They're trying to like get like good trade value on your time. And then if founders need more support, we jump in, we give them more support on whatever, right? But like the thing that lights the fire in the founders' asses is accountability. It's not like I'm the one saying you need to go do this, but I'm going to say to you, what are you committed to accomplishing by next Monday? And now I'm holding you accountable to that. So now whatever you say, you better believe I'm going to like hold you to that. You said you were going to do this. Did you do this? So that's the structure. That's a really simple structure, but honestly, like most founders still don't have that. There's not somebody sitting there who's being like, what are you going to do by then? And then when the time comes, did you do it? Right? It sounds simple, but like that actually does create a lot of motivation. So it's 2 things. You're going to get up in front of a lot of people and show your progress, and you're also going to have to sit across from me, and I've been holding you to something because you declared it, and now you have someone holding you accountable. It's helpful.
I think that kind of help you reprograms your brain on like, you know, how to actually set a goal and then accomplish the goal. And you're kind of like forced to not embarrass yourself in front of 500 other people, not 500, like 10 other people.
Like 25, but still,
exactly.
No, it is motivating. It's motivating. It's like, oh, I'm going to crush it this week. And then I'm going to get up there and and then the whole demo day is just a bigger version of that. It's like, I'm going to crush it for 3 months, and then I'm going to be able to like show the world how hard I crushed it, basically.
So have you ever, I mean, I'm sure you guys have, but like, I guess like one part is like, how do you suggest the founders to set goals? So for example, let's say I'm going to achieve, I don't know, $100 million ARR like by 3 months. And then for each month, that's probably 33 million.
Yeah, I mean, we probably do more like, you know, like 2, then 5, then 10, then 30, then 57, then 100 or something. But yeah.
So basically you set like the different milestone. Like, so how do you suggest the founder to set the milestone? Because if you came in and then obviously everyone can throw a number onto the wall, but like what is actually realistic? And then a lot of the times I find that like in SF, especially like for example, the research-based founder, they have never sold anything before. Like what's like kind of realistic for them to, you know, build the product and sell at the same time? And is this more towards, I guess, like is revenue the main criteria that you guys focus on versus, you know, some moonshot product? Like I guess you have to literally like build a record to like make this happen. Obviously, like you mentioned, like deep tech is not necessarily the biggest focus right now, but I guess how do you kind of set the goal for the people?
I mean, pretty much like most people don't set ambitious enough goals left to their own devices. They don't reach far enough because a lot of people are worried about failing. And so like, let's say that someone thinks they can hit like, they can probably hit 200K in that week or whatever. They might be like, okay, well, like 150K is the goal because they like, you know, or some people might be like 200, or some people might be like 250K or whatever. But like these goals are about stretching yourself. So if you think you can do 200, then why not try to see, well, ask yourself, well, what would it take to do 500? What would it take to do 1,000,000? And like, is it impossible? Like, is it impossible or is there a world in which somehow you go out and you get $1 million in sales this week? Okay, what does that world look like? Do you want to like commit to accomplishing that? And then at the end of the day, look, do people always hit goals? If you have a goal that's like 1,000,000 and then you really only thought you'd get 200, but then actually you end up getting 500 or something, right? Or even you get 200, but like a lot of times it's like the thing that actually gets you to 200 is thinking along the lines of like, well, what would I need to do to hit 1,000,000? And then you go out and you do everything, you know, it's like that thinking of like, okay, how can I, if I was to pull out all the stops, what would I do? That's the attitude that creates winning businesses. If you continually do that every week over week, and compound that of, okay, what if I pulled out all the stuff? Okay, like that's a crazy goal, but like 1,000,000. Okay, I'll try for it. And then sometimes you do it too, especially coming up on demo day. Like we have so many teams that like set these insane goals, and it seems like completely like wackadoodle. But then coming up on demo day, somehow they end up like, you know, hitting it, or at least taking a huge step towards it. And I think it's just like trying for those big outcomes is key. And so that's what I also see like a lot of founders don't do. When left to their own devices, they're just much more reasonable. Whereas like when you're unreasonable, that's what causes you to win, not when you're reasonable.
100%. I really thought it was such an interesting concept to like kind of have the end goal in mind and then force yourself to accomplishing the small goals like each week to hold yourself accountable. I think that's so important. Most people probably just Slack in general. For the 10 founders, do they interact with each other, or like do they just only interact when?
Oh no, they interact. They totally interact with each other. First of all, it's like the community here usually ends up being between something like 20 or 30 people. Sometimes even 40 or so, because it's like these teams, and the teams are sometimes big. I mean, we have some teams that are 10, 15, 20 people that are all, because these companies are farther along. So the community is bigger, and yeah, I mean, it's awesome. This is what's so cool about this. It's like, it's such a sick group of people to be a part of. And as much as like we think, as much as like we like to think that we add value, I think the number one thing that people get value from here is actually just their relationships with other founders. I mean, imagine being in a place where, you know, every other person you're living with has started $1 billion company before. It's like, it's a really, and if not, there's another reason why they're here. So I think that's a really special group, and that's a huge part of the value. Yeah, so I feel really grateful because at this point, you know, we've built a reputation for having those kinds of people, and that's part of how we continue to get those kinds of people, and that's hard to replicate. And I'm just like really grateful that we ended up creating that flywheel.
I wonder, so like, how do you guys think about like portfolio construction? Since like I guess like it's 10 cohort, assuming each year there's like, I don't know, 3 or 4
Mhm.
cohorts, and that's like 30 to 40 companies per year. And is it like the same check goes into everybody, or like do you guys do, I'm sure you guys probably save some for follow-on or something. So how do you think about portfolio construction as a fund?
Yeah, we don't focus too much on follow-on. We're going to deploy most of our capital just through HF0,
Mhm.
that primary investment that we make. Yeah, I mean, I just think like back the best companies. You know, the thing about VC is like at the end of the day, it's like driven essentially by your outlier company. And then if we're being honest, like there's like the returns. Like, look, we have great dynamics as a fund. Like I'm super confident that we're gonna create great returns because we create so much value for the companies, right? Like we're like actually creating value. This is the thing that most funds don't do. They just give the company the money. Whereas what we do, we take the money, we transform it into this experience that's like way more valuable for the founders, and then that's what we're getting equity for. So that's like super powerful, I think. And that makes me just really confident that like we'll definitely at least be able to return our funds to our LPs. But when I think about like um the portfolio construction and all that, it's just like it's just about backing the best. You got to back the best teams. You got to have those what actually ends up mattering in venture, as I feel it's like kind of sad to say this, but it's probably true, is like when you're chatting with someone and you're like, well, who did you invest in? And then you can just say names that they know. Like that's the thing that like causes people to want to give you more money. Like if you can be like, oh, well, we were an early investor in Figma, then here you go. They might not even really ask like, oh, what did you invest in or this or that, you know, but actually like we get it pretty, we're getting a good, our whole fund model is awesome. I think it's better for the founders. I think it's better for us. I think it's just like incredible. I'm really, really happy to be doing this. And yeah.
I wonder for to pull the best like second founders, like I guess besides like the organic applications, how do you guys think of like selecting or like I guess poaching these like the best second time founder to apply? Just because I think some of the second time founder they have just so much going on, or like they might have like other options, or like they already raised like a really big round. I guess what would be like the fun first of all like to get to them, just because I think that there is such a unique set of group. Everyone's like taking a sabbatical on LinkedIn. So like how do you think about poaching them, or like I guess like identifying them in the first place? Do you identify them when they're still in the last company, let's say they just got acquired, and then you DM them, or like how do you think about the best way to just like stand in front of them?
Great question. So, we just do outreach. I don't know. It's like a boring answer. Like, yes, we have lists of top founders. We reach out to them. We have community events for people like that. We're just friends with people, to be honest. Like in SF, in our communities, like a lot of these people we just end up meeting. And we're just actually a product that these people want. And these people are like busy and they have a lot going on. That's why they need us.
I think
It helps them set aside whatever they have going on. Maybe they're already wealthy. Maybe they're remodeling their house. Maybe they have a child. Maybe they have a crying baby, a remodeling bathroom, a whole situation going on over there that actually, if they could just like get all of that, if they could just sweep the table and just be back in the zone, back in the basement over here, just coding. And that's what they need to actually make their next company succeed. Because we all know that like you balancing having a baby and like remodeling your kitchen and your angel portfolio and blah 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 blah, like that's a full-time job. That's a full-time job. If you aren't super intentional about like I'm gonna like set all this aside, just being successful is basically like a full-time job. So that's why we're here, to give those people a space. We're not just for those people, but trust me, like it's helpful. we got a lot of folks with families, we got a lot of folks with whole situations going on, and they come in here and they just like they drop in and they can focus again. Yeah.
For sure. I wonder what's your like thought process on like scaling the product, or like if the product's even scalable?
Is HF0 scalable? This is a question we talk about a lot internally. So we have, I think some aspects of it are scalable, some aspects of it aren't scalable. Like there's definitely something about living in a house with like first of all, it's a house. So there's like limits to just how many people can live in here, how many people can work in here. I don't think we could have that many more than like 10 companies just physically like in this space. That's already a limit, right? But yeah, we are thinking about scaling up a little bit. Like for example, by getting other houses, and so potentially you come into HF0, but then you're like sorted into a specific house, and so maybe this is one house, and then we have another house. We would like to scale it because this product is amazing. I mean, I'd love to just be able to have more founders experience this. So we are interested in scaling, but we probably will never be that big. And then we also just want to see more residencies start up. Like I would love to I wish more funds and emerging managers would just be like, whoa, what's going on over here with HF0? Why we should do this. But the truth is you need a special kind of person to do this because you kind of need to be halfway in between a fund manager and a startup founder to be crazy enough to be like, yes, let's do a residency, because building a residency is very much a product. It's very much a life thing. You are basically living there while it's happening. You don't have to always be living there, but while it's happening, you're there. And so that's the thing that I think holds some people back from it. But people should like do this. Like if you're listening to this and you're watching this or whatever, and you're starting a fund, there's no alpha in just being a fund, especially if you're trying to back early stage companies, seed stage companies. Like you might think that because your roommate a couple of years ago like started a company that if you would have invested in them at that point, you would have made some money. You should go and like start a fund, and like you should start a fund, but you should think about how to create alpha, like starting a residency or something like that, where it's not just like, oh, I'm just going to throw some checks into some different companies, but like building an actual experience that's going to help people. And like we're pretty open about like what we do here and why it works, and like we want people to copy us because our mission in life is, first of all, yes, do we want to have a successful fund? Yes. Do we want to HF0 to grow? Absolutely. Like, I mean, I want this to be the flagship residency of the world. It kind of already is. Currently, it's kind of the only one. I want to see a world where there's way more funds tackling this type of model because it's great. It works. It's like it creates a lot of value. Yeah.
I feel like there is a few like co-living houses situation. I think the OG would be like Mission Control, where
Mission Control.
I think you guys all lived there.
We didn't live there, but Dave used to live there.
Dave used to live there, and then it was like that was like the OG. It was like 30 different houses or something. Like people were like doing hackers out house parties and stuff. And nowadays there's like AJ House, and then there's also like the Residency and stuff. But like I feel like it's not like most of the co-living situation. It's like more focused on like living
exactly
the programming itself. I wonder, and then I also feel like a lot of the VC value add typically are like through introductions, like, oh, you need to open like a sales funnel from XYZ company, you know, 5 people there, that kind of stuff. But how do you think about like, I guess, the tangible value adding besides like the manual check-ins, like, and then there's like, you know, the workout classes. Like, how do you think about packaging it in a way that's like the founder? I guess there's like a lot of the taking care of like their life situation part going on. What would you say is like the most core thing? Would it be the companionship, that you're always there with them, or would it be like sorry, but like this, like,
look, it's honestly, it's not that complicated. I'll tell you the whole recipe. It's like but it's not an 80-20 kind of thing. It's a all or nothing kind of thing. It has to pass a certain threshold in order to work at all, I think. And I think the threshold there is that a founder needs to feel like they can completely surrender into this container for a set period of time.
Oh my God, deep. I'm
And
sorry.
no, it's true though. They need to be like, okay, I'm going to be able to come to this place, surrender into this container, and I know that everything is just going to be figured out for me, so I can just completely focus on building. It's like if you had a meditation retreat, but then like part of the retreat was like people need to like cook their own meals, or like, I don't know, like call their friends every so often and like figure out their plans afterwards. Like it like wouldn't work. But because you show up at the retreat and you just know, like, I'm just going to show up here, and it might be hard. It will be hard. It's like gonna be hard. That's the whole point, is that it's gonna be hard, but it's gonna be a process that I can just like surrender myself to like know that I'm gonna be taken care of, and that this is gonna, that it's gonna work. And the ingredients that actually make that true are the conditions. Is actually simple. It is the conditions for living. It is actually like basically having a room, food, and I also think fitness is important.
Mhm.
If you know that you don't have to think about those things, you're just like, okay, I'm gonna sleep here, I'm gonna eat this, I'm gonna do this workout class. Okay, that's your life. That's your life. Now you're freed up to do everything else. And then you can layer on top of that more, but like that's what we always talk about. Subtraction is more important than addition. It's not about, oh, we have this programming or we have that programming. It's literally just, can you create an environment where people can focus, where their 3 meals a day are going to be provided, where they don't have to think about things, where their laundry is going to be done for them. That's another great example, where the room's going to get cleaned for them, where etc. Right? Like the basics of life are just taken care of. There's a huge arbitrage opportunity. If you can do that for founders, it's so valuable. It's like so valuable, especially if it's like a founder specific version of that type of experience, and you get to be in a cool community. And then of course there's like a flywheel, and there's a little bit of a network, a chicken egg thing of like, okay, well, how the quality of people is a bit of like, you need to like build that. But just being able to offer that, I wish more people would do it. It's like so great. Yeah.
I think it's very hard to convert like people with kids to. I think it's easy, but also hard.
You'd be so surprised.
It's like everybody have kids.
Yeah, like okay,
they're running away from that real life.
Literally, we thought that. We were like, oh, there's no way that like parents, like it used to be our thesis was like, it's the biggest swing in your life before you have kids.
Yeah.
But now we're like
biggest swing
while you have kids, because actually like so many families come, because imagine if you have a kid and now somebody's like, oh, well, don't worry about it, we'll just take care of it, 3 meals a day, all your workouts. It's like, actually, that's a fucking awesome.
So like, is there kids here too?
Yes,
really?
but they don't live in that. So basically what we do is we have this house, and then we have apartments like all around. We have like, we're now like, it's like a total it's
real
like 40
situation.
It's like a real estate situation. It's like 40 bedrooms across like 3 or 4 different buildings. And so if someone comes in with a family, we'll put them in an apartment next door to this house. So they'll come here, they'll still be a part of this community, but they'll have this place where their family can live, and they'll just grab food, take out containers, take it back to their family every day. The food thing is huge. I don't know if I've harped on this enough. Like,
oh my God.
You think about it, it's the basics of human life.
Yeah.
What do you need to survive? You know, to survive, you need food and shelter. And then to thrive, you need internet and workout classes. Like, this is it, right? And so like just the simplification in your life, when you just aren't thinking, like you just know where you're gonna live, you know what you're gonna eat, it's even better for families. Because then they just like, it's like, yeah, you're never stressed about like, oh, what are my kids gonna have for dinner tonight? What are they this? Like, it's just like, well, they're just in HF0 too. They're gonna be taken care of. Yeah.
I think that's definitely huge. And as like a person with kid, I have like a 1-year-old, so I feel like kid thing is probably the most essential.
Oh, that's so great! Congratulations.
Thank you.
Yeah.
From like blocking you from like working, but in the best way possible, right? But
yeah, of course. I mean, that's like most people's goal in life, is to have a family.
I wonder, so like, how do you think of like the journey of like HF0? Like you mentioned, like you guys are thinking about like scaling, but not like, I guess like scaling into like different houses, assuming that's like different sectors, or like, is this more like geographic locations? I know that it was in like Miami before, and then correct me if I'm like hallucinating. It was in Taiwan.
Yeah, it was. You're not hallucinating.
Or
it was
something.
Taiwan,
Yeah.
Miami.
It was OG, like I feel like Dave's newsletter, or I don't know if it's a newsletter or it's like just like a personal update or something. I saw it was started in like different cities.
Yeah.
And is there like a different set of founders that like from different cities, like, or different backgrounds? Because I was just in New York last week, or like the week before. The founders backgrounds like very different than the Bay Area. So the Bay Area, they have like people like yourself who's technical, who like, you know, code since like, I don't know, 5 years old or stuff like that. And then sold a company.
More like 12 years old, but
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So how do you guys think about like the different location kind of stuff?
I think, you know, I think that all the best residencies are going to mostly be in San Francisco. That's just the conclusion I've come to. I think there's just a compounding network effect of the Bay Area being the best place to build companies, and it's actually like a there's a compounding anti-pattern of New York being an amazing place to live. I love New York. I would love to live there. But like the thesis of like, oh, well, so like New York's such a great place to live, so more people would want to live there. So like, therefore, there will be good founders there. I think actually it's more like the best founders are the ones who are drawn to the place that is a compromise, sadly, on like it's not as good of a place to live, but it's like a little bit better in terms of like building companies here, and then that compounds. And so it's almost like because SF is also a great place to live in many ways, but like if you're just being like fully honest about like the hedonic experience of it, unless you're just like a complete like you don't like cities and you only want nature, then of course this is better than New York by like a million times. But like if you're at all into like cultural experiences and stuff, there's just like no fucking comparison. And New York is like so much better. Like the food, the events, the shows, the this, the that, the community, blah, 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 blah. It's so much more fun. But that's like why I think it's just better to be here. Like, I don't think that it's like a bullish thing for founders to be in a city that's like so much fun. Like, just come get serious and like be in the major leagues and like be in San Francisco if you want to be a startup founder. Don't be like fucking around in New York. If you want to have fun, New York's great. Like, stay in New York.
What about I totally, I mean, I'm very biased since we all live here. So like, yeah.
I want to live in New York. I'm just like, it's just irresponsible. It's literally like, it would be like dumb of us to go there.
Yeah, I think it's like too much destruction, and then there's so much going on at all time.
Yeah.
What about like South Bay?
South Bay is also good because, you know, you're even closer to the BCs when you're in the South Bay. I think when I'm looking at applications, like I take a lot of signal from like where someone is. If they're in San Francisco, great. If they're in Palo Alto, it's like probably even better. That may be the one place where if I see that someone's in Palo Alto, I'm like more bullish than even in San Francisco, because Palo Alto is like even more boring than San Francisco. It sucks. It's like beautiful, sunny, but just like completely like not interesting culturally. This is my mom grew up there. I spent tons of time in Palo Alto. I loved it. It's a beautiful place. Stanford's an awesome school, whatever. But like, and it's just so suburban.
Yeah,
it's just a suburban place. The weather is also like amazing down there, but it's just like so suburban. So I think Palo Alto is pretty good. Personally, I think San Francisco is the sweet spot where it's kind of like just enough of like, you know, an interesting city with some culture and some stuff going on, but it's still the Bay Area. And the other thing to think about, it's like basically like how easy is it for someone to meet you? If you're in San Francisco, it's the best. Like, it's better than being in Palo Alto, but not by a ton. It's better than being in New York by a good bit in terms of if you need to meet a relevant person. I'm specifically talking mostly about like AI companies, B2B SaaS companies, you know, cutting edge research labs. This may not be as true for like crypto founders, for example. This may not be as true for like fintech founders. Like I don't want to say like if you're in fintech, you need to meet with like people from banks and stuff. Obviously, like New York's probably a better place for that. But if you're in these like core tech industries, then your chances of getting that meeting to happen are just so much more in San Francisco. And if you're in Palo Alto, it like probably won't make that big of a difference. Like they're probably going to be down there at some point, but it's just like, you know, yeah. So I think South Bay's fine. I don't know. I grew up in Oakland personally. I think like Oakland's also awesome, but like I think if you're doing startups, it's like SF is like just, yeah. Even the Bay Bridge is like a chasm that most people won't cross. Sadly, Oakland's actually great for lifestyle, more so for lifestyle. Yeah.
I wonder. So like when they're in the program, do they, assuming they leave the house at some point,
Yeah.
or like do they just primarily stay
Leave
in?
the house? Are you
Like
kidding?
leave this
No, they
place?
don't leave the house. No, I'm just kidding.
No, I mean I'm like a little bit worried, but
They leave the house. They can go outside.
I wonder. So like maybe I want to be mindful of the time. Maybe
Sure, yeah,
like,
we are
one
kind of getting
last
to an hour.
question,
Yeah.
and then- So,
Oops, sorry.
please don't throw this one out of the window. But okay, so I wonder. So how do you think about if someone trying to recreate this experience in their real life? Like, how would you kind of like help them to, or like how would you suggest them to like kind of create this in their own living condition?
Okay. So let's say you're trying to create your own residency. A lot of people after HF0 end up doing this.
Mhm.
So a lot of folks will do HF0 and then they afterwards like, oh my God, wow, that was amazing. We need to keep doing this. And super good sign. Every company that does that has like gone on to raise a Series A, Series B, like they're crushing it. If you're willing to continue living with your co-founders and in this type of an environment, you'll like, I almost want to say it's almost like a guaranteed path to victory as a startup. If you can continue to stay in this like residency-like environment, what does that mean? It's back to the basics. It means you all live together, or at least you live. Do you all need to live under the same roof? Not necessarily. Like you could live next door, but it's like, it's that. It's not like you live, it's even not that you live like 5 or 6 blocks away. It's that you live right there. It's like y'all are living together. But you could live like, let's say you have a wife or a husband or whatever. You could live with them as long as that house is like literally adjacent to the place where y'all are working. It's about reducing the commute time to like 30 seconds. That's a huge, it makes a huge difference. Your commute is 30 seconds. You just walk over, you're just boom, you're just there. And then your dinner, your lunch, your breakfasts, you can't be thinking about that shit. It needs to just be that you show up, breakfast is there. Lunch is just there. You aren't thinking about this because there's cognitive, and you have cleaners. That's it. Simple.
Wow.
Just 3 meals a day, cleaners, living together. It's not that hard.
Major takeaway from this conversation.
Yeah, but it's just like
automate your life.
Automate your life,
And
exactly.
be isolated.
Yeah, but
with your co-founder.
Living with your co-founders, with everything in your life taken care of, and magic is just gonna happen. You're gonna move faster. Just be default. You're at work. And honestly, it's a better. I think it's a better way to live. It's not like I used to be like, okay, I used to be. It used to be stressful for me to go to work. Right? I was at home, then I would have to go to work, and you got to commute, and it sucks. And then you're at work, and it's like this whole thing. I think the future is not going to look like that. You're just going to wake up, and you're just going to be at work. You're just going to be living in this place that is with the people you work with. They're going to be there. It's like you just live and work in the same place. And like maybe you have your little pod that's like your living pod, and it's cozy and it's your home and all that, but then your work is there. And then you just go and you just work, and then it doesn't feel like this whole like, oh, am I at home or am I at work? Like, am I stressed? Am I not? It's just, no, you're just working all the time. But you're also at home all the time. But it's not that you're working from home. This isn't like a solopreneur just sitting there alone, lonely, just typing away. You're at home and you're at work and you're working with all of the people that you work with in person, all at the same time. That's the future.
I can't.
So anyway,
okay.
okay, we should wrap this up.
Okay, let's wrap.
Yeah.
Okay, quick 30-second fire round. What's your favorite book?
Oh, okay. One book I would recommend highly: Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo.
Who made
Seriously.
made the biggest impact in your career?
Oh man, it was probably. I mean, look at this: two people that really made a huge impact on my career: Walker, my co-founder at Teespring, and Dave, my co-founder at HF0. They're both highly impactful, and I'm working with both of them right now, which is so sick. Yeah.
Who would you invite to your dinner party?
This is starting to turn into those 36 questions of fall in love too.
No. There's only 4 questions.
Okay, good. Who would I invite to a dinner party? Someone who I'd love to just talk to about their process, Frank Lloyd Wright. Huge fan of his architecture, and I want to know like what he did, like his daily routines. I'd love to learn more about his process. How is he so prolific? I really aspire towards people like that who were either invented processes like Marie Kondo that like a lot of people ended up using. So I'm passionate about this whole residency stuff because it's like a new type of process, but also just like the incredibly prolific creative people, Frank Lloyd Wright, Albert Einstein's, like how did they do it? What was the actual day-to-day that got them those results? Yeah.
Where can we find you outside of work?
Sorry?
Where can we find you outside of work? I don't think it exists based off our conversation.
No, I just like on Instagram. I really like gardening and plants and stuff like that. So I have like a lot of stuff I'm doing.
Do you plant these trees outside?
I didn't do this, but I have.
Okay.
If you see my place, I have like tons of plants. I'm really into gardening. I'm really into building
Plant
stuff.
dad.
Yeah, I think it's so cool. So yeah, you'll see me like probably gardening. I also go to the arcade Emporium, play DDR over there. So that's fun. Yeah.
Love that. Well, Evan, thank you so much for coming on the show today. It was so much real talk on how to build an efficiency life.
Seriously. All right.
Okay, awesome. Let me quickly